Welcome everyone, welcome. Cedric Booker's living life. Well then, Cedric. Why, hello, friend. Everyone come on in from the cold. It's cold outside, everyone. A little chilly out there. So yes, please do come in. Please do find out and relax. The game vacuum, Michael Cox is here. Cedric Booker is here. Welcome you all, wonderful humans. Tonight, I don't know if we'll get through the rest of the story, but we will be reading about an elderly lady who's up to no good. Welcome on in, everyone. Brandon. Welcome, friends. Let's do this. Let's do this. A Mischief for Song of the Day, human. At least that's what I was told. From a friend of mine who makes music sometimes. Cedric Booker, it is so cold outside. But no matter how cold it is, no matter how your day was, although I do wish your day was well, tonight we will be reading stories. A story about an elderly lady who was definitely not up to any good. We'll continue where we left off. But before we do, find yourself a blanket, a cozy little snack, maybe a glass of milk, something to settle your soul, a glass of tea. Dane Elliott, welcome to the stream. No matter what it is that you need for this evening, I do hope you find the peace that you require to dream the dreams tonight that were meant to be dreamt for you. So that's right. Cuddle up next to your friends, your partner, your dog, your cat, your stuffed teddy bear. Whatever it is. Or maybe just cuddle up next to the screen. Either way, welcome everyone to Storytime. Lovely Libra, welcome lovely Libra. Everyone here. Now let us pick up where we left off. Now, as I said before, we are reading An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. These are short stories, but they seem to be longer than I anticipated. But that's all right. We'll get through. There's a few of them here. We'll get through the first one, then we'll go from there. Let's see how far we can get tonight, shall we? Lovely Cedric, Brandon, all of you beautiful humans, let us go forth into stories. It's the Bedtime Story, man. Yes indeed. Where we left off, by the way, Maud is our main character here, and Jasmine is an annoying person in the apartment building that seems to be bothering Maud quite a bit. Now, Maud is an old lady and does not like to be troubled with anyone. So, we are in the midst of the story between Jasmine and Maud and the apartments in which they live. Let's go. Jasmine's visits grew more and more frequent. She usually brought something tasty to have with the coffee. Occasionally, she brought a bottle of wine. Ooh, fancy. Maud tried to fend off the gifts and the visits, but it was as if she somehow was incapable of putting any real strength behind her efforts. Jasmine would simply wave her protest with a little laugh and few dance steps. When she was finally ready to leave, she would give Maud a hug or an affectionate pat on the cheek. I wonder which cheek. She always invited Maud down to her apartment. You just have to see my place. It's absolutely fantastic. But Maud always responded evasively. She still hadn't worked out if that Jasmine wanted what Jasmine wanted from her. Did she seek out Maud's company because herself was lonely? Or was she playing Good Samaritan, taking care of an lonely old lady? Or what, indeed? It wasn't until she read a new entry in Jasmine's blog one day that things started to become very clear. I'm so excited. I might be soon moving into a bigger apartment, which means a bigger studio, of course. I really need more space. And when I say bigger, I mean bigger, much bigger. Lovely Libra. I see you fluffing your pillow and snuggling under the covers. Good. And everyone tonight, as we pause for a moment, do find yourself comfortable. Snuggle up and get warm. It is definitely cold outside. Come by the fire. Enjoy the words that are coming out of this book. Enjoy the hair that is coming off of my chest. As the more that I read, the more it grows, and the more it grows, the more I read. It's like a chicken in the egg, only with my hair on my chest. I never shave it. Never indeed. Better be a momentary pause. Hi, Louise. Well, welcome to Storytime. So that was the reason for Jasmine's intense charm. Offensive, the intrusion, the way she forced herself on her neighbor. Maud felt quite stunned as she sat there, her anger rising. She took a few deep breaths to clear her mind. That little Sasquatch was after her apartment. The first autumn gale was blowing up and outside the window, and yellow leaves danced against the glass. It was starting to drizzle. There was no doubt that the real storm was on the way. Maud switched off all the lights and settled back down in her armchair. The darkness crept out of every corner, slowly filling the room. If Jasmine turned up, Maud had no intention of opening the door. She needed to think. The shrill sound of the doorbell sliced through the silence, like a samurai. I imagine like a samurai. The samurai portion is not in the book, but if I did imagine a samurai, I saw a video the other day of a samurai cutting a bullet in half as it was shot. I don't know if it was real, but it seemed fascinating. I was like, wow, fast and sharp. Must be very sharp. The shrill sound of the doorbell sliced through the silence like a samurai. Maud didn't move a muscle. She knew that the bell would ring again and again and again, and eventually Jasmine gave up. Her footsteps disappeared in the direction of the cellar stairs and the door leading out into the backyard. A heavy thud echoed against the stairwell as the door closed behind her. Maud was sitting at a short distance away from the window so that she could see from the yard. There was no lights on, so Jasmine would assume she had gone out or was having a little nap. Indeed, your chest has its own pause. Was that a good enough pause for you, Lido? Or would you rather this pause? Or maybe an action pause. Is that a better example of the pause that you refer to? That might be in my chest. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure, but hopefully they do resonate with you in the space that is in between. Joelle, thanks for being here. Dane Elliott. Let's continue. Maud was sitting on a short distance away from the window so that she could not be seen from the yard. Needless to say, it was all because the artist couldn't buy her apartment in the usual way. No doubt she used to fixing everything with her money, but in this case it wouldn't work. Maud didn't own the apartment. She simply had the right to live there as long as she wished. Brandon. So, she had lived there in these rooms for 88 years, and she wasn't about to move now. Of course not. But what did Jasmine have up her sleeve? Presumably, she was planning some kind of swap. Maybe in the same way that Let's Do This just swapped out some of those bits. Let's Do This, I want to say thank you. My chest hair says thank you. This book says thank you. Every bit goes to more firewood for the fire. We must stay warm this winter. And those bits are burn quite well. They heat the place with warmth and hugs. Have you ever burned a fire that also emitted heat and hugs at the same time? Bits do that. It's amazing. Great hugs. Not those flimsy hugs that some people give. They could do that little rap thing, and they tap you on the back, and they don't really mean the hug. It's all superficial. Not one of those hugs. One of the hugs that when you get, you're like, oh, you almost fall asleep. It's like a snuggie. Like one of those type of hugs. Those type of hugs are the best. Bits for wood chips. Yes, indeed. But does the bubble pipe also say thank you? Zombie Arch? Well, yes, of course it does. The pipe also says thank you. I'm sorry for not explaining this. Hugs are the best. Hugs are indeed the best. It's weird. I'm seeing some things in some places and some things not in some places. It's interesting. But yes, the pipe also says thank you as well, Leto. And Newman. Where was I? She had already asked Maud if the stairs weren't a bit much for her. She had pointed out the apartment was old-fashioned and unnecessarily large. Several times she had mentioned that her studio was too small for her monumental works of art, and now there was the latest blog entry where she sounded sure of victory. These were clear indications of Jasmine's intentions, and Maud knew she wouldn't give up until she had forced the exchange of apartments one way or another. This spoiled upper-class Sasquatch wasn't accustomed to not getting her way. Perhaps she would appeal to the Housing Association Board? There's no doubt plenty of board members who would be less happy than Maud was occupying such a valuable space without paying rent. If Jasmine said she was felt sorry for the old lady who was getting a bit senile and finding it difficult to manage on her big apartment, and she'd be willing to swap so Maud wouldn't have to struggle up the stairs and could have a more disability-friendly place, she would probably present her case pretty well. Seems as though Maud is making up quite the story about Jasmine. Quite the story indeed. That's right, Brandon. Right, Brandon. The clouds indeed are floating on your mind. If anyone could pull it off, it was Jasmine. For a moment, Maud considered simply going away for a few months to Mexico. Or has anyone been here to Mexico before? Has anyone traveled? Where's the furthest place you've traveled to from the place that you're currently in? Where have your adventures taken you? What countries have you seen? What planets have you seen? Maybe not even in real life, in your dreams. What destinations, pray tell, in the universe have you explored? What nebula? What constellations? What monsters? What dragons? What beasts? What fairies? What trolls? What bridges? What animals? What people? What sounds? What colors? What music have you found? Oregon and Mexico. Well, that's pretty good. Out of all the universe, the Bahamas and Mexico seem to be, pretty good. Oregon, Mexico, Bahamas. Yeah, it's a pretty good start. Pretty good start. All right, let's continue. No, she had to stay put and protect her interests. I've traveled to the Boxhead Nation. Now, that location right there. Now, that location you speak of is quite the doozy. Now, that place that you speak of, Enzo, can't always be found by all. It has to be found by those that wear the box and have the heart of a true boxhead. Finding the location is like the witch in the wardrobe, or the thing that, the line the witch in the wardrobe, where you find the door inside of the wardrobe, and you're like, where'd that come from? You're like, oh my goodness, how is this here? That's the thing. If you find the right box, and you open the right box with the right box hat and the heart of a box head, Sir Boxington will open up the portal to the Boxhead Nation, and you can find your way there. It is indeed graceful. Did you tie the road through Albuquerque? I certainly did. Well, not me, but our hair does go through Albuquerque. Brandon, yes, let's continue. No, she wasn't here. Jasmine would have free reign. Who knew what she would say to the other residents of the Housing Association Board? For the first time in a long life, Maud felt weak and powerless. But after a while, her brain began to function as it always did in a crisis. An idea began to take shape. After examining it thoroughly from all angles, she made up her mind. It's time to pay Jasmine a visit. When I say she's up to no good, she is really up to no good. Shall we continue a little bit, everyone? Are you up for a little bit more? Or should we end there? There's not too much left in the story. I don't know if we'll reach it this evening. Ryan is ready to take it down. Michael, thank you for being here. Lamont is here. Joel, thank you for being here as well. I have a friend named Jasmine. You know, when I was in high school, I had a crush on a girl named Jasmine. Or was it middle school? I don't know. In fact, I used to drink jasmine tea because I thought it reminded me of her. I've never met another Jasmine since then, and every Jasmine that I hear reminds me of that Jasmine. It's interesting how, youthful interests and whatnot, the flutter of a youthful heart reminds you of. It's fascinating. Ryan is ready to sleep, I say to you. Maybe all of you are ready to go to bed, and that is quite all right. Everyone, it's been a pleasure reading to you tonight. Does Jasmine smell like... Well, I've never got that close there, Lido. Never got that close to know. It was more of like a faraway thing. It's more of a faraway thing. Everyone, I do want to say thank you. It seems as though I'm just enjoying the show, bro, Brandon. Well, I want to read some more. I'm curious. This is fascinating. She's finally going over to her house and seeing what's going on over there. I want to see what she does. She has an idea. What is it? I don't know. All right, a little bit more. Maud picked up her sturdy stick in her right hand, and in her left she carried the bag of trash from her kitchen. And under her arm she had tucked a bundle of old newspapers. She made her way down to the garbage containers in the lobby. She placed the newspapers in one of them, the big plastic recycle bins, and dropped the trash in the container labeled landfill. She thought all this business of sorting the trash into compostable and landfill was nonsense. Simply ridiculous. See, she's cranky. She's a cranky old lady, Maud. She then made her way to Jasmine's front door, which was unusually robust, reinforced with a broad band of steel all the way across. Maud could see 3 separate keyholes. She supposed that the kind of thing might be necessary if you lived on the ground floor, even if the main door of the apartment block was always locked. She rang the bell, and had a ding-dong that sounded like a cathedral bell. Ding-dong! The sound was muffled by the heavy door, but Maud could still hear it clearly. After a while, the door opened, and Jasmine peered out through the gap. When she saw who it was, she slipped off the security chain and opened the door wide. Nonsense, I'm in tea. Same here. I'm a cranky old man, Maud. Well, Lido's a cranky old man and you're a cranky old woman, Maud. Let's see what happens. Maud, I'm so pleased you're here at last, she beamed, sounding as if she really meant it. For a moment, Maud wavered. Could she really have made a mistake? Perhaps Jasmine really liked her and wasn't after her apartment at all. Let me show you my beautiful apartment. It's modern and comfortable. I know you're going to love it. Every trace of doubt disappeared from Maud's mind. Her suspicions had been well-founded as usual. Jasmine was trying to sell the advantages of her apartment. This must be the case while Jasmine is befriending her. In her feeblest and most timid voice, Maud said, I'm sorry. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I just brought the trash down, and I thought... Of course not. Come on in. I've been asking you to drop by and have a look around. But I haven't brought anything with me. I just rang the bell on impulse. For heaven's sake. The most important thing is that you're here. Jasmine danced away down the hall, beckoning Maud inside. Before crossing the threshold, Maud glanced out into the backyard and checked the windows in the lobby. There wasn't a soul in sight. She quickly stepped inside, and the heavy door closed behind her. The hallway was quite large and gloomy. Along one of the walls were the closets with mirrored sliding doors. On the opposite wall hung a large piece of art in dark colors. It was impossible to make out what had been pressed into the paint because the lighting was so poor, but it appeared to be torn-out newspaper articles. The only source of illumination was a small wall light that looked like a lump of cement with a naked bulb stuck in the middle. Probably something Jasmine had made. Chattering away happily, she led Maud into the kitchen, which was a futuristic dreaming glass and stainless steel. The windows overlooked the backyard. Maud was careful to stay away from them. And why was Maud careful to stay away from the windows? I wonder. A doorway led to the small glassed-in terrace. Scott McGrindle, welcome to the stream. Welcome to Storytime, friend. Ketchup on grilled cheese or no, Scott? I'm not one for, in the evening times, when I'm getting ready for storytime and bedtime, to put ketchup on my grilled cheese. I'm not a grilled cheese person at night. I'm more for like a glass of tea or a cup of milk, if that makes sense. But to each their own, for stories and for snacks. I do hope you find your own story and snack this evening.
During the spring and summer, I always eat out there because it's glassed in. The weather doesn't matter. But isn't the kitchen fantastic? The induction stove cooks your food in no time, Jasmine assured her visitor. Maud had installed the electric oven at the same time as a combined refrigerator and freezer. That would have been in 1983 or possibly 1984. Both worked perfectly well, and she had absolutely no interest in something that cooked her food in no time. Firstly, she rarely cooked. She bought most of her provisions from the local ICA gourmet store, which sold ready meats that could simply be heated up in the oven or microwave. They were prepared in the restaurant kitchen just a few miles away. Occasionally, she might heat up a tin of soup. Ah, soup. I see, Brandon. Tomato soup, possibly. Might have heated up a bowl of soup. And secondly, she already found it difficult enough to make sure things didn't burn. Several times she had forgotten about a pan on the heat. With the speed of this induction stove, she'd probably burn everything. No, she wasn't interested in anything like that. But she didn't say so. Instead, she just opened her eyes wide and said, "Oh, goodness me." The kitchen is amazing, isn't it? And so practical and easy to clean.
Jasmine sounded like an over-enthusiastic real estate agent, which perhaps she was, in a way.
And wait until you see the bathroom.
She disappeared into the hallway. Maud, trailing slowly behind the huge bathroom, also sent shivers down her spine. It was covered from the floor to the ceiling in black and white tiles with gold faucets and gigantic corner bath.
Look, it's a jacuzzi,
Jasmine said with the same enthusiasm she had lavished on the kitchen.
Oh,
Maud murmured, trying to look impressed. Why would we want soup on Tom's toes? I don't know, Lido. Why would we want soup on Tom's toes? Kendrick! Why, welcome, Kendrick. You fine, sir. Welcome indeed, everyone. If you're just now joining, this is called Storytime. We are reading a story called An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. I do hope you find yourself comfortable. I do hope you'll find yourself relaxed. And maybe you grab a snack like Scott McGrindle or Brandon. Either way, let's continue. Both the kitchen and the bathroom were appalling. The bedroom was small living rooms, and even worse. The bedroom and the small living room were even worse, if that was even possible. There was nothing in the bedroom apart from a huge circular bed in the middle of the floor. It was unmade, and Maud could see that the black sheets were made of some kind of shiny fabric. Probably silk, Maud. Do you not know what silk is, Maud? Come on, Maud. The living room was entirely white. The only pieces of furniture were the big white sofa and an oval table that appeared to be made of wrought iron. The rug was white and kind of shaggy. It wasn't me. Some of Jasmine's pieces were displayed on the walls. One of them had lots of white wine bottle labels pushed up into the paint, while another had several hash pipes stuck into it. Maud had been to India often enough to recognize a hash pipe when she saw one. I made a bacon snack tonight, Brandon, says Axel and I in here. Ooh, Taylor! Axel is here. Oh, we've heard some developments, Taylor. By the way, if you're just now joining, like Taylor and Axel, we've been reading An Elderly Lady's Up to No Good for a few days now. And Maud so far has not wanted to go down to Jasmine's apartment, even though she's been requested to come down. And then Maud found out that Jasmine was only doing it to get her to sell her apartment and get her to move to her apartment to swap. Because Maud's apartment was bigger. Now, Maud is down in Jasmine's apartment. She has a plan. But again, I tell you, she's up to no good. So, there's not much left in this short story. I don't know what she's planning, but it certainly is not good at all. The only pieces in the furniture were a white sofa and an oval office table that appeared to be made of wrought iron. The rug was white and kind of shaggy. It wasn't me. Some of Jasmine's pieces were displayed on the walls. One of them had lots of wine bottle labels pushed into the paint, while others had several hash pipes stuck into it. Ta-da! My studio. The vinyl flooring has been put down to cover the really beautiful oak floor, so all you have to do is lift it up and there you go. Jasmine led Maud into the large room. There were pieces on every wall. Maud had already seen them on Jasmine's blog. She also recognized the various interestingly shaped structures and sculptures on the floor. There was only one that she hadn't seen on the blog. It was hanging from the ceiling. Jasmine guided Maud around her work, explaining at length that she was striving to unmask the domineering tactics of the patriarchy. Maud contented herself with a odd "oh" and "I see" at appropriate points, otherwise she kept quiet. Eventually, they reached the final piece, the sculpture suspended from the ceiling. This is my latest project. It is almost finished. It's called Phallus Hanging. That's why it's hosted up on the ceiling. I want to hang it like this, but it is also because I am short of space on the floor. I see, Maud murmured again. The actual framework of the piece was large and old-fashioned wagon wheel made out of wood. Using strong steel wire, Jasmine had attached things of different sizes of various appearances to the spokes. They were also made of a range of materials. Several of the largest were cast in bronze. Some were made of clay and others were made of concrete. There were some even bright red and bright green ones. The wheel was suspended by a block and tackle mechanism from a sturdy hook in the ceiling. The rope ran through the tackle and was tied to the thick pipe leading to the radiator. On the wall, Jasmine had mounted the kind of trigger-release shackle used by sailboats to fix the sheet to the sail. It was an impressive device made of black rubber. Maud pointed to the shackle and her fingers trembled slightly. Bacon. Is that really strong enough to hold the weight of the whole thing? I mean, if you fastened the rope, she asked him. Yes, indeed. I bought it in an ordinary chandelier. It's big enough to hold the sail of a racing boat gale. Everyone, it is indeed getting late. There are 4 pages left in this story. 1, 2, 3 small pages here. So, I will leave it to you. Shall we finish the story, Sarah? This evening, these last 4 pages of this one story of Maud and Jasmine, as she explores the apartment, or do we save it for tomorrow? What, pray tell? What bacon do you have that may suggest one way or another? Everyone, I appreciate that you're here tonight with Storytime. But I need to know, do we finish the story, or do we in here for the night? Your call. I'm here by the fire, just cozy and warm. Brandon is asleep right now. Ah, the sleep. Right now. Everyone says, yes, yes, finish it. Levi, Axel, Sarah, and Taylor, finish it. Finish him. Well then, I say to all of you, let us finish the story. It's big enough to hold the sail on a racing yacht and a boat. It's exactly what I need because it's holding up a considerable weight. just like the weight of a sail. When I want to add a new piece to it, I need to be able to control the speed when I lower the wheel. The shackle means I can look at a comfortable height so I can easily work on it. The hook was already in place. There used to be a massive chandelier in here. The ceiling height is about 16 feet after all. It's a pretty high ceiling. Maud's ceiling was about the same height. A plan was beginning to take shape in her head. I wonder what plan she has. She opened her eyes wide and said, "But it looks impossible. I mean, those things, the ones in bronze, must be incredibly heavy." "They sure are. But watch, the shackle can take the weight." Jasmine went over to the radiator, bent down and undid the knot. Now, only the trigger-releasing shackle was holding up her creation, the phallus hanging. Maud felt her pulsing rate increase, but controlled herself and pointed to one of the bright green items on her art. "What is that one made out of?" she asked. "Oh, it's just Play-Doh. The stuff kids use in nursery school. It's soft and modelly material that you harden in the oven at low temperature." "And what about that one?" Maud pointed indiscriminately towards one side of the wheel. "Which one? Do you mean the concrete stuffs or the other ones?" "I'm not sure. That one," Maud said vaguely. She was pointing upward as she slowly edged closer to the rope. Jasmine went over to her masterpiece, trying to work out which of the contraptions Maud was wondering about. She ended up standing directly beneath the wheel, gazing upwards. Perfect. Maud jerked the rope as hard as she could, and the shackle released it immediately. With a deafening crash, phallus hanging landed right on top of Jasmine. She didn't even have time to make a sound. After an eerie silence filled the room, Maud held her breath as she listened for the sound of running footsteps, but she didn't hear a thing. The neighbors were probably used to strange noises coming from Jasmine's apartment. Quickly, she moved over to the motionless body on the floor. Through the wooden spokes, Maud could see that Jasmine had been crushed by her own work of art. The patriarchy strikes back, she thought. She headed for the hallway as quickly as possible. She had been very careful not to touch anything during the tour of the apartment, so she didn't need to waste time wiping off any fingerprints. She pressed her ear to the front door to check whether there was anyone in the lobby or the yard. But there wasn't a sound to suggest that this might be the case. She pulled the sleeve of a cardigan over her right hand as she pressed down on the handle and cautiously edged open the door and peeked out. There was no one around. She slipped out and closed the door behind her. She heard the lock click into place. Later that evening, Maud became aware of certain amounts of activity in the street. When she looked out of the window, she saw an ambulance and 2 police cars with flashing blue lights parked outside the main door of the building. Maud was hidden behind the curtain. No one could see into her dark room. After almost an hour, the paramedics came out carrying a stretcher. They had covered the face of the person they were carrying. A sure sign that that person is dead, Maud thought. She didn't feel any sense of triumph, merely a calm serenity. Now no one would threaten her home. She would live there for the rest of her life. At the same time, there was another feeling. It took a while before she managed to identify it. Emptiness. Loss, perhaps? Was that possible? Apparently so. Well, I can live with that, Maud thought. She moved away from the window and into the darkness. I told you the elderly lady was up to no good. Even the front of the book has little tiny crossbones and X's on it if you were paying attention. Seems Maud has a very, definitely up to no good side of herself. She's certainly kind of funny, though, if not a little weird. A little creepy, if you ask me. It was fun, though. You didn't know exactly where it was going, and it certainly took a turn as if it was taking a U-turn down the wrong way of a road. Anyway, everyone, that was story time this fine evening. Up to no good for certain. Very much think for herself. Yes, Taylor. This is not necessarily a book that has good, teaching life lessons, I would say. This is more of a, oh, that's what happened sort of story. It's not like, oh, better tie your shoes before you go running, or you'll fall on your face, or brush your teeth, or you'll get a cavity. No, this is just, when you get old, make sure you find friends and you don't stay in your apartment, I suppose. Anyway, instead of me trying to make up random things that the story might have, let's call it night. Taylor, Lito, Louise, lovely Libra. I think that the chest hair is certainly traumatized. Let's get a good look. I believe the chest hair is certainly a little traumatized indeed. Yes, there it is. It'll be okay, buddy. It'll be okay, yeah. That's right. You'll be fine. Everyone. Taylor, Lido, Axel, Sarah, Levi, Brandon, everyone. I say to you, have a wonderful night. Sleep well, dream well. It's purring now. It needs a good brush. Everyone have a fantastic evening. I'll see you tomorrow night again for story time. Same here, same place. And we will read, probably going back to one of Kendrick's favorites. We will be going back to, where the sidewalk ends, that one. Yes. Lovely Libra, Kendrick. Good night, Louise. Sleep well, sleep tight, dream all the dreams that were meant to be dreamt, and I will see you tomorrow, because this was indeed the best story time of your dang life. Good night, everyone. Good night. Ah, yes, Cheryl Silverstein. Good old Cheryl Silverstein. Good night, everyone. Nighty-night. There it is.